Today I want to talk about one of my favorite genres in gaming, and that is the horror game genre. Ever since I played the first Resident Evil, I've been hooked. I vividly remember starting the game and getting to the cutscene where the zombie turns his head around, and then quickly having to take the disc out of sheer fright. I had to do that like 20 times before I could actually play the game. But that was just my introduction to the genre. I think I was about 5 when this happened, so don't hold it against me, because eventually I grew a pair of testicles and they dropped, and I was able to find the entertainment that the horror game genre had to offer. Because if you could get past the initial jump scares, then you realize that horror games have some of the most memorable stories and innovative gameplay. There's also this misconception that these games are just gory bloodbaths and just find every excuse to show creative ways to destroy the human body. And while ultra-violent games like this do exist, and I do in fact enjoy some of them, it doesn't mean that you could just throw some crazy Phantasmagoria-esque death scene and call it a day. There just has to be something more. While a big pile of mutilated flesh is one of my favorite things to look at, eventually the shock value goes down and the player becomes desensitized. For instance, the first 2 Dead Space games had some phenomenal and unique death animations. Like, I was blown away by this shit. In fact, they had such an impact on some people that the promotion team for Dead Space 2 was able to pretty much base their whole ad campaign on how fucked up the game can get. But the blood and gore isn't the only reason for the game's success. I mean, it also had a unique heads-up display that added extra immersion. For the example, the health bar was actually on Isaac's suit, which was a brilliant decision because this is also justifiable given the futuristic setting. Dead Space also went the extra mile with its dismemberment gameplay mechanic, forcing the player to suppress their instinct to aim for the head, while instead rewarding them for shooting appendages. In fact, shooting the enemies in the head would sometimes make them stronger, kinda like in Resident Evil 4 when you could blow someone's brains out just to have them grow this sharp flailing mutation out of their neck. But even violent combat isn't everything. In fact, some of the best horror games don't have any traditional combat or gameplay whatsoever. In Fatal Frame, your only weapon is a camera. In fact, it's the only way you can see the ghosts, and it actually works more effectively the closer you are to the enemy, which really makes you test the limits of how much danger you're willing to put the character in. I think the most talked about horror game without traditional combat is Amnesia, which leaves you damn near completely defenseless the entire time playing, and rarely ever lets you feel like you're in a safe environment. You almost always have to run for your life or hope that you find a good hiding spot. This type of gameplay goes beyond just basic resource management and makes you stay on your toes and pay attention to how the map is laid out just to survive. The game isn't testing your ability to aim a gun or swing a sword, it's testing the player's will to continue. And this brings me to the psychological aspect of horror games. This is the genre's best quality in my opinion. The innovative ways developers and writers have been able to throw the player off guard still continues to amaze me. Whether it's through fourth wall breaking gameplay mechanics like the insanity meter in Eternal Darkness, where it literally will make you think the game crashed, or through interesting storytelling like the novel in Alan Wake. There's just something about the horror genre that allows the developers to take the experience beyond just the game itself. And that brings me to my favorite horror game, and probably one of my favorite games altogether, Soma. Because to me it's the perfect example of how a video game can go beyond just entertainment and get a person to really sit down and think about life and what it means to be human. The writing in Soma is nothing short of phenomenal, and the voice actors all did a fantastic job at conveying these complex emotions. The story moved along at a constant pace, and although there were minor cheap scares, the real fear came from how much Soma was able to fuck with your head. And that's the true beauty of the horror genre altogether. The way these games especially have a way of taking over your mind. Think of how even a simple jump scare works. It's the most basic form of stimulated fear, and it's pretty effective as long as the player maintains a general sense of security. In fact, the jump scare gimmick is a good way to get younger gamers into the horror genre. Games like Five Nights at Freddy's and Slenderman have been able to capture just the essence of the jump scare, horror, preparing the new generation of gamers for what horror games have to offer, while also being extremely popular. And in time, the pixelated blood and gore will get more realistic, the emotions conveyed in these games will get even more complex, and even with the rise of virtual reality, the horror genre will have even more tools at its disposal to leave a psychological impact on the players. But I want to know your opinion on horror games. Do you enjoy the boost of adrenaline you get from being frightened? If so, what is your favorite horror game? Or do you just prefer to enjoy your time playing a game that doesn't force dark themes and minor psychological torture? Leave your answers in the comments section below. I cannot wait to read them. If you enjoy me discussing various topics in gaming such as this one, or if you're a fan of the Games You Might Remember series, hit that fucking subscribe button, boys. Alright, we are growing, people. We are becoming stronger. I can feel it. If you want to have a personal conversation with me, then feel free to join the Daily Quest Discord. There will be a link in the description as always, and we also have a Twitch channel that we are desperately trying to find out how to use to its full potential, so tell me what you want to see on the stream also in the comments. But until next time, peace out. And boo! That'll work on someone. Fuck it.